is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Yep, saying that. I am BDLM, coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 48 of the Dota on Demand podcast. Maybe a little overdue. I gotta say, it's a beautiful spring day. The sun is finally broken in our part of the world. And we decided what better way to celebrate such a glorious evening than to sit inside and talk about what's going on, man?
You make me feel really bad about doing this episode. Honestly, this is probably, I think, well, up to this point, it's like the warmest day of the year. And you're right, we are absolutely sitting inside our houses. Thankfully, I'm in the basement where I'm at. As you guys may notice, if you were observant before, I am now in a new environment for personal reasons that I will not divulge into. Yeah, it's the. I've actually just started putting it together. We have, of course, like an exercise bike because you got to stay fit when you're doing these kind of things. Honestly, it's for the marathons. It's for the kids. Anyway, I don't know what that means, but yeah. Honestly, it has been a very long time. In fact, I believe our last episode 47 was well, it was when Medusa basically came out. So more or less, a month and a half ish. It's been a while. We'll just keep it simple there. But not to fret, we are back, and who knows, maybe if we get enough to talk about on a weekly basis, we could make it weekly again.
Well, there's certainly enough going on. I gotta say, like, I seem to remember the last time we had these things going on. Like, I'm just so in love with Dota at the moment. Like, just watching the competitive scene, just how varied it is. That's certainly something we're gonna have to talk about. Because there have been some heroes that popped up that are sort of like old favorites. Like, heroes that used to be a huge part of the main game. You want to go old school, you can look into Shadow Shaman, who's actually picked up a couple times recently. Jakiro, who sort of fell off the map after like had nerf, has sort of come back in a big way, and then some absolutely ridiculous stuff like Silver
Like,
Juggernaut and
what the nutsy stuff, you might say?
I still haven't made that shirt yet.
It sounded like a horrible concept, if I can recall correctly. Didn't it involve like a squirrel with acorns or something?
No, it was like a nut and a hole. It was like a nut who had like the lowercase o period big O eyes kind of thing. It's hard to explain. It's really amazing.
I trust you because you were an art major, so yes.
Yeah, I gotta find you somehow. Give me my patience. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely glad we can come back and talk about this. I mean, we're so close to 50. I think we have enough to make it to that. So, all you listeners out there, rejoice. But yeah, I mean, like you said, this was last time we haven't really seen her at all, sadly.
No.
CSMJ did return to the competitive scene, though.
Yeah, this is the that might give her a chance, but you know, we talked about her for a long time that episode, and obviously you were just excited about her in general, but it's just, I guess, the way the meta is working, they'd rather have someone like a Phantom Lancer or Antimator, just pretty much even Spectre for F's sake is coming back in. Well, that's more Loda than anything else, because Loda loves to play those underused carries, it seems. So that's just kind of his thing. But yeah, it just seems like she really doesn't have a place quite yet. But you know, all it's really gonna take is like one team to be like, let's use her, and they're gonna like dominate, and then other teams like, you know what? I do like that hero now that I think about it. And it honestly, you know, I guess that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. I don't know why she isn't used. I want to give her. I want to compare her to Gyrocopter, because right now, let's be honest, we both hate him. He's used way too much now. He was so cool when he was first picked up, because like, ooh, it's exciting. Look at this hero. What does he do? Does he shoot people? I don't even know what he does. And does he kamikaze people? Oh no, he's not Japanese. No, anyways, that was a weird tangent. But anyways, dude, oh god, oh god, that is way too soon. But yeah, you know, I'm just trying to think about, because both heroes, let's be honest, they both like to get Divine Rapiers, especially Gyrocopter in this day and age. Every single time he picks up a Demon Edge, Toby just screams, "Is it gonna be a Rapier?" And he's just so excited, and it usually actually is not a Rapier, but, you know, it's just that possibility, because that, obviously, Flat Cannon wins games. Well, why not Split Arrow with Divine Rapier? We know it does almost the same thing, obviously not as much cleave, but I don't know. I could see her being kind of a mirror to Gyrocopter in a way.
I think the big problem with that is that, I mean, Medusa has like the lowest starting health in the game, if I remember correctly. She's very squishy, and aggressive tri-lanes, I think, are like bigger than they've been in a while. I want to say, like, when the game pretty much started to automatically just be tri-lanes, it was a lot of tri-lane versus solo, and you sort of dealt with it. But now that because of like things like Nix becoming so popular, or Leaf Stealing, it's just so easy to run aggressive tri-lanes. And how are you going to support a hero? Like, what happens if she fails? Or she doesn't really do anything else? You look at Gyrocopter, there's actually a game I was watching today, and it had a Pugna in it. That's fun. It was Versus Pro versus Dignitas. There was a Gyrocopter, and there was a fight at the Roshan pit. He drops his ultimate on the opposing team at the Roshan pit. Nothing really happens. No team really does much of anything. They exchange blows, they back off. Everybody's still around the Roshan pit. They go back in, and then Gyrocopter drops his ultimate again. And it's like, didn't this just happen? This is fucking classic Dota rank 3. It's completely simple Dota rank 2, which I believe it was from this engagement. It's just, he's a hero that's really, a really, really great hero to have. He has that power in the lane stage, which Medusa really doesn't have. The first time Mr. Same is great. She gets the levels to finish up the comp. But I think it was one of the things too that I forgot to mention in the episode when we talked about her. So one of those things, like when we first started talking about how Dota 2 related to Dota 1, and there were a lot of people who transitioned over to Dota 2, and they're like, yeah, it's you would think it's the same, but there are some minor differences that happen when controlling heroes. One of the other things is that the map is slightly smaller, so there's a little less room for her to sort of run around in the dark and farm up massive amounts of gold. And every once in a while, I think you'll probably find people in pro games who are like, yeah, I'm just going to level 1 Medusa and just do ancients. So you're just admitting that you're pumping until you get your, Divine Raven or Lincoln's Butterfly kind of thing. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely glad that we've seen more heroes become viable. Obviously, I'm a little tired of the Gyrocopter. Even Puppy, listening to him stream lately, said the Divine Rapier Gyrocopter feels a little bit too strong for pairing. Because obviously, there really aren't any other heroes so that can kind of do what he does with that. But we got to deal with it for the time being.
Yeah, I mean he's not going to go. In any your capacity, he's not going to go anywhere. By the way, since I was so rusty with doing this, I'm hoping the local recording isn't messed up. But
it's okay.
the reason I say that is I know the live version was messed up. They couldn't hear you for that first little bit.
For the first little bit.
Well, I say a little bit, I mean that whole time.
The whole time.
Up to this point. They can definitely hear you now. I 100% confirm that now.
Confirm, deny.
So, worst case scenario, right, let's think about this. This episode's going to last about an hour. So if they don't hear you for like 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes of an hour, it's like, what, a sixth of it? I mean, does that really matter in the... I don't know. Plus, your voice isn't just as exciting as mine. And
it's nails on chalkboard, I think.
Usually. And they'd rather just hear the dead silence when you're talking, just seeing your mouth move up and down. But don't worry.
You guys get to enjoy the rust. I mean, we did mention it. I made a Facebook post about this episode just before we went live, so there is some rust, and hopefully we can, get past it. But I'm glad you all can hear me now.
I'm glad I realized that before we did like the whole episode, and then I'd be like, "Oops." Well, that was a one-way conversation.
Oh crap! Hit the button.
Well, I was like, "Why is the volume line not going up as he's talking on XSplit?" I'm like, doesn't that normally go up and down? But I don't know. I just wanted to think about it for a while. But anywho, yeah, let's not talk about Medusa much because let's be honest, there's not much to talk about with her. But you did mention a few things, so I guess we could just kind of jump into one of those. Which one first is the question. We could say Juggernaut mid, because that's kind of a neat thing, right?
I want to say that was run LGD int with a safe lane Doom, which is awesome. There was actually another game, I believe, where LGD Int tried to run the Juggernaut middle, and they actually got messed up because of a caster. Didn't get into the game, and whoever was running the tournament, it was the G1 League, decided to wait until the lanes had set up, everybody had run into their lanes, and then said, oh, we need to restart this because a caster isn't in the game. And this is after Jugs has himself, it was either Haste or an Invis rune bottled up, was, you know, they, when they had a pause and were like, yeah, we have to restart this, LGN's like, no, that's retarded, we have better laning situation. Apparently they already knew 30 seconds in, they're like, yes, this is great, this is exactly what we want, they had the rune, and they wound up losing that game, so, I mean, you might want to throw that factor in there. But I gotta say, I really do like the Juggernaut mid, it's really nice, especially just because of running that bottle, like buying it straight off and then running into the lane. It's actually a really interesting strategy, and I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been run without the safe lane Doom, so it's just kind of neat to see this tier that we used to like not even see a whole lot now become a little bit more popular, and also in a role we're not used to seeing him in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely happened before in games where like a carry in general will go mid. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be a nuker or you know, I guess more of a ganker team fighter. Because obviously Juggernaut, he's not horrible at ganking, but it definitely has to be a pretty exact situation for it to work very well. Like you have to be able to get on top of them and spin or catch them off guard in the woods, kind of like Luna. If she ganked early, would be like, I hope I find someone in the woods, because if I don't, I'm probably not gonna get a kill here. But yeah, I don't know.
It's like the difference is Juggernaut, though. I mean, you think of that middle position typically as like your number 2. He has the sustainability in the lane, especially like I was saying, if you start with that bottle, yeah, okay, healing ward's expensive, and so is spin, but you have yourself a bottle, you're able to keep vision of the runes, you can pick those up very easily, you get the levels you need so that you can really start that push up, and that's kind of what I really liked about running the Juggernaut and the Doom, because we think about like Hand of Midas as like this investment item where it's like, okay, you're going to come to your first item a lot slower. Your second item will be on time. Your third item will be faster. If you think about Doom and Devour, it's like you are just getting up faster. You're just coming into where you're supposed to be faster. You're getting the money in faster. And so getting Jugs into a position where, okay, I have my levels, I have everything we need so we can push. We have Doom, who's also coming up faster. We can just take it to the enemy team before they're prepared for it with damage, with stayability, and with utility when you think about, you know, getting the levels up on Doom to be able to get the Doom ultimate, as well as the strength of Juggernaut's ability. So it's really neat, and I'll be honest, obviously I'm going to try and save this for the future. We've mentioned about how we like the heroes that we're waiting for to come in to Dota 2 from Dota 1, but I'm actually kind of curious to see what you can do with Legion Commander in that mid-roll with the bottle. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm going to try it.
What, are you going to go back and play Dota 1 now?
No. I'm waiting for it to get recorded. I want to try it out.
Who she is, of course, or it's a she now in Dota 2. So this is their first, I'd say, like, major difference from porting a hero from Dota 1 is this whole kind of overwork of design with her. Well, I call it her now because, yeah, like I was saying, it was a male before in Dota 1. So up to this point, I mean, yeah, they've obviously made some changes in how heroes have looked, but it hasn't been, like, drastic. It's been more just, like, how they want to interpret what that hero looks like, but now this is just completely different, and I think that's kind of cool in a way. I mean, I'm not going to say there's not a lot of female characters, because I wonder if it's out there how many females to males there are. I'm sure there's more males, but there's still a good handful. Maybe they're just a little outnumbered right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat change. I mean, I like it. I'm kind of curious to see how dainty she winds up coming off, because it's like, that's kind of like the, do we want to have a chick character because, you know, yeah, there should be chick strength heroes, or do we go, you know what, sex sells, let's just throw another dainty chick, and she's just gonna...
You've played League of Legends, and Leona, if anyone else is watching has played her, that's how I'm kind of imagining this hero. It's basically like imagining this armored up with a shield, sword, like a knight almost. So not really sex sells kind of thing. More like maybe someone will make a skin where it's kind of like sex sells, but like I think their base thing should definitely be more of this focus on like tanky. It's a Legion Commander. Like she shouldn't be this wearing this like very light chainmail over just her breasts or something. You know what I mean? Like, it should probably be what you would expect a Legion commander to wear. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see if there's any sort of, at least going back to like her abilities and how she might compare to Juggernaut, how press the attack, which 4-second duration gives you health regeneration, how that can compare to Healing Ward as far as if you're running the bottle, you can get in the middle lane, you can, obviously you won't have as much harass with the spin, and you don't have that way out as far as being magic immune, but I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm kind of curious, because a lot of these things have sort of just, with these heroes that we don't normally see, and I think Treant is a really great example of this, of you see it done professionally and you're like, I never thought of that, or that's something I considered and I thought it would work really well, and now it's not. Or it didn't actually succeed as far as a professional level is concerned. So I think it's really neat that you sort of get to see that kind of stuff, and it makes you think about heroes in a different way than you have before.
I kind of want to like go over a little pattern. I've noticed when we, I've kind of recently gone back and listened to some of our old episodes, and it seems like all the heroes you've been excited for up to this point, that you were just couldn't wait till they got into the fray, and you're like, oh, this could change things. This could really be cool in this situation. I'm pretty sure all, or at least 90%, have flopped on us to this point. Like, when I say flop, I mean really are just rarely or never used, and especially not in the way you wanted it to be used. I mean...
Oh, I think not, sir. I got 2 letters for you.
Okay.
Can you think of them? I. O. That's it.
Oh. One. Okay. Okay.
But his name change is
true.
The biggest, and might I say, I think he has one of the best win percentages in Dota 2 at the moment, sitting at the nice .65. I'll have my Dota Academy over here on the side.
Right below the Bloodseeker and Timbersaw.
Well, yeah, but Wisp is used all the time, or banned, or picked almost every game, I would say. I mean...
Okay, you got one. You did get
Treant,
one.
I mean, Empire have really been messing around with Treant, and I think the first time, maybe I'm wrong here, the first time at least that I saw him in a competitive game, it was picked up by LGDN. He was made the core of a tri-lane. He gets himself up 2150 gold, does it pretty easily, buys himself a Blink Dagger, and you're like, oh snap, the tree's about to go ham, he's gonna go in. And then he blinks in and he drops the ultimate, nothing happens, and you're like, oh, this is unfortunate. But really the way he's been run, other ways, I mean, even still being the main farmer in a tri-lane, have been pretty effective. I mean, his win rate isn't amazing, but when you consider that he's a hero that's really been drastically changed quite a bit, I don't think it's unusual that it might take some time to figure out how to use them and how to maybe use them in a particular meta. I mean, Living Armor has definitely showed that it's crazy good and has a lot of potential to turn a game around, even if it's almost like Brilliant Zara from Crystal Maiden, or like Ring of Basilius, which is like my favorite item in the game, believe it or not. Like, it's these little things that you can't say, oh, well, right there, that just saved everything, but you go, oh yeah, you look over the course of a 50-minute long game or a 30-minute long game, yeah, that actually made a pretty big impact.
Yeah, no, I mean, Living Armor definitely is my favorite move on him by far. I mean, and I even like it more in Overgrowth. I really do, just because of how throughout the game you have this kind of global presence, and you can heal towers. How many heroes can heal towers? One. So, I mean, makes him pretty niche, pretty unique in that sense, and it's obviously not going to, if the other team has like Chen or has like a really nice push, you're not going to stop a push. It's just going to happen. But if they're getting poked down, or it's definitely can make a big difference. Also used on like the side lane hero, the mid hero, if he's getting harassed too much, just pop it on him, let him regen up a bit. I mean, it's definitely an amazing move. And the Overgrowth, it's just like, it's obviously got its uses, but now that like Magnus is in the game, and like obviously I think Magnus kind of just took over as this big team fight ultimate hero. Like Enigma kind of was the end all for a while, and now when's the last time we saw Enigma? I mean, Neverland. Like honestly, it's kind of the Magnus show right now. So I don't know. I think his ultimate's decent, but the fact that you can like TP out or you could do certain spells and stuff just makes it a lot weaker than other ones.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think it was the second or third game, and I wish I could remember which games exactly it was, but it was really about being like completely over aggressive, like the lineup. And the thing about Overgrowth is it's on a 50-second cooldown, I do believe, as I try to scroll through to be able to pull up that information on my side here. But it's a very short cooldown. And I believe in the game he was run, 70 seconds, pardon me, it was with a bunch of other really quickly cooling down ultimates. Talking about like the Gyrocopter, where you can just sort of not only look to have these big abilities, but if you get them all in similar cooldowns, you can fight. And then once you kill people, they're dead. By the time they're alive, at the 20 to 30 minute mark, your spells are almost up again. And that was the cool thing about the Treant, was he was able to use the Living Armor to regen people up right after an engagement. It was almost like your kind of Urn of Shadows thing, where you're like, okay, we want to keep pushing, we want to keep the pressure up, pop an Urn charge, get everybody back up, and keep going. You use the Living Armor on your own tower so that they can't get that money advantage. They can't catch up to you as far as your advantage is concerned. And then when you always have this, at least way to root everybody in place, you just hold them still long enough to line up some of your other abilities. You know, the Queen of Pain ultimate, especially if you get the Aghanim Scepter, you can almost make sure that those two are up together. I think there's a lot of utility there. Really, I think, too, when you just look at Overgrowth, Living Armor is so strong, how can you have Overgrowth a powerful spell as well? Like, I think Living Armor, just because it's global, is like one of those things where you sort of have to make everything else maybe a little less than fantastic, or maybe not super strong, so that you can make up for that one ability.
Yeah, he's not an AoE bot. Like him and Magnus differ in that. Magnus, every single move of his is AoE in some kind of concept, so that's obviously just his purpose. Whereas this hero is kind of more shifty, kind of obviously like Nature's Guise. It lets you kind of sneak in and out around people as well as use on your teammates. Yeah, it's just a whole different kit. So, you know, obviously we can't compare Ultimate to Ultimate and say, oh, this sucks because this one does this. Yeah, but I think that's why I was just kind of naming off why Magnus is probably getting picked so much. It's just teams are looking for that huge AoE team fight, and obviously Magnus just brings it to the table. So.
For sure. I mean, that's the other cool thing, too. I mean, if we just want to talk about Magnus more, I mean, I think just the Empower and just how much we've seen it be crucial. And my least favorite alliteration, or use, I guess I should say, of the Empower is on the Anti-Mage, because it's just stupid. It's just stupid. I hate it. I got to watch Sylar run an Anti-Mage today with Empower buff. It's just like, why is this a thing? The other team, they had a Luna and a DK, and they just couldn't even do anything to him. Like, as soon as that 30-minute mark rolled around, and one or two team fights went the way of Anti-Mage, and it was just like, it's over.
Empower Ricky is the beastliest thing ever. I want to see more Magnus Ricky teams. Like, you have to factor in how, first of all, it can power, because it only increases base damage. So, unless I'm wrong, isn't that good for Ricky, since agility, base damage, strong? Or am I thinking that the wrong way?
Are you asking me these things?
Okay, I shouldn't. But obviously raw bonus damage is not factored in. But either way, still, he'll benefit a lot. Plus, his smoke screen. If you can get a good RP followed by a smoke screen, those people are freaking dunked. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
I think there are a lot of other ways to say than dunked.
Well, I'm going for an NBA Jam reference here. But,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. And then put some trees around it with Nature's Prophet, make it look pretty like a garden. I mean, you could really do some creative things here. I don't know why I'm going that direction. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think Ricky, I honestly, I don't know, I'm not surprised he's not used more, but he is definitely one of the hardest hitting late game carries, you know, if built properly, I want to say. Just because of how his backstab scales so well with his agility. It's, you know, how many other heroes get that kind of scaling throughout the game?
Yeah, it's just a shame Force Staff is greater than Ricky. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
Yeah, to a degree.
I gotcha. No, you don't.
That's what the Fusel Blade's for. Okay, that's what the Fusel Blade's for.
Fusel Blade is so that you can still get pushed out of the cloud. You turn around, you stun them, and then you laugh.
That's what Rod of Atmos is for. Now I'm just
Yeah.
going crazy. Maybe not. But
I mean,
anyway.
yeah, I feel like I've seen Ariki, like, not too recently, but, I mean, he's another great hero to see. The one that I see all the time, which I actually never thought I would enjoy personally, is the Lone Druid. I have the Panda Bear. I'll be honest. I was kind of anti I have to try and micro heroes, but kind of digging it. And you can sort of tell now, especially because of the Nyx and Kotal nerfs that have happened in the past, and now that they're not necessarily, both first pick, first ban worthy, Lone Druid has actually not only been a consistent pick, but some teams have even pushed him up to being one of those first 4 bans. Because he is just way strong, and I like it. And it's really interesting now that I believe Toby was casting the first game that I ever saw an Armlet Bear, and everyone was really confused. And you can't blame them. It was even banned, I believe, immediately after that game in the defense because they were like, WTF is going on? Is this broken? Is this the way it's supposed to work? But now it's like, Armlet Bear is what you do, unless it's a really crazy situation, and it's something I really like. I think it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. A lot of people don't think about it, and they're just like, it's stupid. Well, but I've definitely been enjoying it.
Well, let's compare it to what is normally built then. What we've seen in the past. Obviously, you would say Maelstrom was a very popular early choice, if not Radiance. So I think it'd be pretty much common, either Radiance or Maelstrom would be a very quick, or even Hand of Midas. I mean, that still obviously could be made. If that obviously depends on how the game's going. But so let's compare it to rushing a Radiance or a Hand of Midas. And are you saying this is generally like a first item on the bear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so
it's pretty quick up.
So pretty quick. So what then? What would make it just stand out compared to either rushing a Radiance or a Maelstrom?
I mean, I think the Maelstrom is the best comparison just because they're similar item costs, and you can pretty much look stat for stat at what they give you. And I'm actually doing my best now, because I didn't think about this ahead of time, to have these comparisons right next to me. But basically what you're getting is survivability on your bear, which I think a lot of times when people did go for that Radiance, or they did go for the Maelstrom, you wind up lacking. I mean, you get armor, 5 armor, you get the HP regeneration on the armlet, and then of course you're going to get the attack speed and the damage. You turn on the Unholy Strength, which doesn't give you any strength and doesn't drain any health. Gives you 31 damage, 10 attack speed. So this is going to bring you to 25 attack speed and 40 damage. Compare that to the Maelstrom, which is going to give you 24 damage and 25 attack speed. So what you're basically getting more survivability. You're going to lose the AoE proc chance, which you could say could maybe hurt your speed at pushing, but you're going to get more damage on towers. You're going to get more damage on heroes, on particular heroes, so if you need to take out somebody very quickly. And like I said, you look at the components, you're getting fairly cheap components. You're getting attack speed from the Gloves of Haste, which you would still get if you're going for the Maelstrom, but then you get the armor and the health regeneration, which you can put on your bear, you can put on you if you really need it for some reason. So, I mean, for me, I think the armlet is such a great way to go, because you're giving your bear something that is as cost-effective as the Maelstrom, but it's so much better at single target that I think it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, I think the only time then you'd really, and that's the tough thing. I was gonna say, well, maybe if your team's going heavy push or you're like split pushing, you'd want the Maelstrom to clear the waves. But to be honest, the armlet, because it's better for single target, wouldn't that be in effect even better for pushing towers? So therefore, you might honestly still want the armlet, which is, you say cost, it's 100 gold cheaper than the Maelstrom, so it's even cheaper, still doing all that good work because the it doesn't drain your life on the bear, which I really want to know who figured that mechanic out, first of all, and then second of all, why that is a mechanic, because why it doesn't, I don't know, doesn't it not say, it just says you lose health per second, right? So why can't that work on a bear?
I think it's because of it doesn't give the strength, so those two things must go hand in hand. But, I mean, I'll be honest, when I first saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to get fixed.
Right.
But there has been the 6.77C patch, which made the nerf to Tranquil Boots, I believe that was also the patch that Drow got nerfed a little bit, and Nyx as well as Keeper of the Lake got nerfed, and nothing was mentioned there. So it seems to be something that they're okay with for the moment. And I mean, I'm just sort of throwing this under the bus for the sake of Armlet. I think there are definitely situations where you'd want to pick up Maelstrom, but I'm thinking like if you want to say that there's a default build for a hero, which probably isn't smart to say, but if you're just like, hey, I want to play Lone Druid, just give me items so I can try and go for. I'm liking the Armlet, and I like going right to Vlad's on Lone Druid himself, just because of the amount of damage you can bring up very quickly, and it's not just for you, it's for everybody else. And I think with your Entangle procs as well, like Lone Druid, I really love him. I'm really enjoying playing him, and he's clearly a really high value hero in competitive play as well.
Yeah, I mean, he does things so well. He's one of the side lane heroes that if you can control that bear and get the lane pulls really well, he can obviously still get decent farm. You've actually brought this up about Nature's Prophet. Worst case scenario, if you can't get in your lane, just go to the jungle. You'll still get creep kills, you'll still get some farm, and then when you're high enough level, maybe you come back and start doing some work again.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that Hani has actually said. Lone Druid does something that no other side lane solo hero can do. He has the ability to pretty much stay in the lane. Obviously, once he becomes level 5, he's just a menace. You get that Orb of Venom on the bear, and it's really good harass. Like, I think he can really put on a lot more pressure than a lot of other side lane solo heroes can do. And then, yeah, like you said, he can bounce if he really has to. You can just stand back and let your bear do what you want. I mean, several builds have gone for that Poor Man Shield just to get the 100% chance of blocking hero damage. And it's just, you are then just countering out any kind of hero harass if you're in a tri lane. If someone really wants to try and take down the bear, you run the bear behind the tier 1 tower that you're going up against, and you pull the creep wave down. There's just so much cute stuff you can do with the bear that, I mean, it's just a really great thing. And even if you aren't capable of getting any farm, you have a tanky hero, you have a chance to entangle. Worst case scenario, you're still decent even if you can't get a lot of gold together.
Yeah, exactly. I've always liked him, and not as the end-all carry for your team per se, but definitely a great side laner, and obviously that's where he's ended up pretty much every single game. I think there was a few where he'd go like middle if he was against a certain comp, but 9 times out of 10 he'd be in that side lane, and he does do a great job there. So yeah, I do like the purple bear. It's unfortunate though, because now if I cast games, I can't say shiny bear. Because he's not really shiny. He's more glowy at this point. It's just not the same.
Yeah, Radiance has pretty much fallen off, and I kind of get it. I mean, I can send my bear to a lane and split push, and he can maybe sometimes get creep kills with it.
Radiance has fallen off like for every hero. I don't remember the last game that I've seen like a Radiance on like Phantom Lancer on like. Well, I was gonna say
Weaver.
Naga Siren, but obviously Naga Siren's never used anymore. Weaver still gets it.
No,
not even
That's
Weaver.
what I'm saying,
Doombringer doesn't really, if he comes in. I mean, that item itself, they'd rather like not take that long to get to their next item after that, because obviously you really have to hard farm, and you can get that in like 17, 18 minutes, but it just falls off later in the game, and at that point you'd probably rather have something else. So I don't know. There's only a couple heroes I really would have liked. Like Phantom Lancer and Naga, I think, are the two I've always really liked down the most, and then Lone Druid is a third, just because you can send your bear in a lane and he can get farm. But yeah, I guess these other item choices just make a ton more sense, really.
While we're on the items, though, I think it's interesting that talk about that one falling off. Shadowblade is
God,
All
everywhere.
of a sudden, Shadowblade is like the go-to. What are your thoughts?
I'm very intrigued by it. It's like you said, it really has picked up on just so many heroes too. Is the really crazy thing. Obviously, Nature's Prophet. Not that he's ever disappeared, but he did have a period where he wasn't used as much. He's definitely way back in the swing of things, though. And God, I mean, maybe I just watch Fnatic play, and that's why I see it all the time because of Trixie. But I see Nature's Prophets get Shadowblade like every single game now, for the most part, just so he can push lanes and then invis to get out if he needs to be with the TP. And obviously not only Nature's Prophet, like you said, a lot of carries are getting it. I believe I've seen even oh god, was it not a troll warlord, but there was someone who I was just like, what are you doing with that item? And they love it. They value it so well. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Luna, Shadow Fiend, DK has actually, he had it in the game I was watching earlier today. Nature's Prophet, the big one, Gyrocopter. And I really do like it because I think people weren't really sure what to do with it, like right when it got changed. But you think about it, it's attack speed and it's damage, at the very least. And a lot of heroes can make use of that. Especially, Prophet, obviously, it's not like it's going to be an amazing push or damage item. But it's sort of, I seem to remember one of our early episodes, we were talking about Invis heroes and stuff, and we're like, it forces money out of the other team. It can sort of bleed their supports dry if they're not getting a lot of money together. And when you think about it with Nature's Prophet too, Nature's Prophet's pushing your lane, your team's doing something else. How often are you sending a hero that can handle Nature's Prophet with Dust? Mm-hmm. Not often. More often than not, I feel like they're going to be on your support heroes. So, okay, maybe you're going to have somebody with a gem and you can deal with it, but just encouraging people to have that item on them and the ability to punish them for not having it is huge. And the other cool thing I think we've seen too with a lot of Nature's Prophets is going that Shadowblade and then End of the Orchid, which is another item that's sort of been popping up a lot too. I mean, not to just keep naming off things to go off on tangents about, but Queen of Pains and Life Stealers and Nature's Prophets, it's just all over the place.
Well, I mean, silence obviously is a big deal. Very, very important against a lot of heroes, especially heroes that need to use their abilities to escape, such as Phantom Lancer, a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to even get into all of them, but basically, yeah, it's a great item as well. Of course, attack speed, mana regen. A lot of people who doesn't value from that extra 30 damage on top. The intelligence, not for every hero. But for the ones you named, like Queen of Pain and Storm Spirit and Nature's Prophet, obviously, just the whole thing is just amazing for all three of those heroes. So definitely expect to see that very commonly on him. Clinks, who not as popular these days, but obviously that's his core item. So you would see that very often on him as well. But yeah, I don't know, that and Shadowblade. I think the first time Shadowblade threw me for a curve was when it was at the same time that I saw an Alchemist for the first time in a very long time. And I was just like, oh my god, Alchemist is in the game. This is crazy. And then, he went Shadowblade too on top of it. And I was like, what is going on here? Not only are you picking Alchemist, now you're going Shadowblade. Are you just trolling us? But he just crushed, I can't remember who was playing, but it was just dominance. And it was hilarious because he'd charge up his stun, Shadowblade in, throw his cask at someone, they'd be like, oh, what the hell just hit me? And they'd be dead. So, I don't know. It's obviously got its very good uses. And like you said also, it punishes teams who don't get a lot of countering. So Dust, Sentries, you gotta buy a lot of Sentries now, not only to counter war, but also for your lane, so you don't get snuck up on. So, yeah, all around, I think a pretty good purchase for some heroes.
For sure. Really bad segue, I guess, but I really don't know that we had a lot else just very randomly to talk about, because this has obviously been very sort of we've been planning it, but we were like, let's just go for it and talk about what we feel like.
Yeah.
We did have some viewer questions.
Yes.
And Shadowblade sniper drow items too, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's your segue. I'll take it.
So I'll ask you first, because your answer is going to be wrong. Defiler asks us, who would you rather have on a professional team? Obviously, you can't tell now because of Drow not being in captain's mode. But the Drow or the Sniper?
It's kind of a loaded question.
It is, because you would never pick either of them
right.
most times.
Well, whoa, let's not jump the gun here. But the gun.
Leaping over.
Jump the gun. Because Sniper has a gun.
Sniper.
Anyways, I don't know. No, that doesn't mean I pick Sniper. I'm just saying. I want to say it's situational, dependent on, well, obviously a couple factors. Drow, her aura is just amazing for a team in general, and the way you can make the most use of that, obviously, is having more than just Drow as your range damage. So, I really, really would love to have Drow if I have another ranged high damage dealer.
Like Sniper.
Mind blown.
I'm kidding, of course.
No, not like Sniper. But, maybe... well, I'm not going to even look at this list because there's a lot of not great
Medusa? No, I'm kidding.
Medusa. I was kind of looking at Medusa. I'm like, no, I'd like it, but no. But just in general, I like her maybe like a Templar Assassin or, get more ranged damage dealers that could benefit from that aura would be really nice on top of everything else. Sniper, I mean, they both obviously don't bring a ton to the table as far as CC or team fight capabilities. They both just kind of hit like a truck and hope to be in the back of the lines to not die and do their damage. So, Sniper, on the other hand, he's really great at, I'd say, picking people off. He's obviously a lot better than Drow in that regard. Drow is your more consistent, solid damage, whereas Sniper's like, well, maybe I'll kill him, maybe I won't. So, I don't know. I think if I had to just make a choice based on nothing, I'd choose Drow over Sniper, but I could definitely see where Opportunity Sniper would fit in better. So now that I'm wrong, go ahead and show me the light.
I just, for a while I was thinking about, like, I really wish there was a great way to work Sniper into a lineup, like something where, he just makes perfect sense, and it's something that people don't think of, and yeah, maybe it's not great on the professional level, but if it's just, playing Captain's Mode with the guys, what can he really do? And I don't think there's much. I mean, yeah, like you said, he gets the crazy long range and whatever, and that's nice, and he can use shrapnel to try and push a little bit, and he is what he is. But I think when you look at just what those two heroes can do side by side, Drow, yeah, if someone jumps on top of her, then she has a problem where she's going to lose her ulti completely, and that's obviously huge. And that's why I think Shadowblade bringing that up is big, because you're probably going to need to be able to outrun people, because anybody with a Blink Dagger is going to take your ultimate out of play completely. But she has an AoE 6-second stun, or silence, pardon. She can do, like what you're saying earlier with the aura, that she can increase other range heroes' base damage, and range creeps around her. So Nature's Prophet hero is going to be moving around a lot. Or you look at a Weaver, you look at these competitively viable heroes and what she can do for them. Weaver just having low base damage makes it a little bit easier for him to hit harder. It gives him his Geminate attack more damage. I really do just like Drow a lot better, even though you do have that potential to have your ultimate canceled out. If you really want to try to run her in like a competitive setup, I mean, that's when I think your Lone Druid becomes really nice and important, like your Night Stalker, these heroes that just get up in people's faces and they have to be dealt with. You can't ignore them, or else they will just tear you apart. So, I mean, I don't know at what point in a competitive game you're going to have the team captain go, it's the Sniper or the Drow, and I'm really not sure. But I think if you were to ever find yourself in that situation, I would be a fan of the Drow. And, she's a hero that hasn't been in the Captain's Mode yet. Obviously, Sniper has, and the last game I saw with him, he won, to be fair. I think Drow might have some more openings, and who knows, maybe when she is put into Captain's Mode, a team is able to find a niche for, much like our friendly neighborhood Treant Protector.
No. She's not.
You can dream.
You will keep dreaming. You dreamt
about
him for
Treant works, so that's on you if you choose to believe it or not. Just saying.
How many games has he won recently?
50%.
Recently.
I'm pretty sure. It's competitive.
That's his track record?
That's his track record. I mean, it's the same as several other prominent heroes, we'll say.
Well, let's compare it to Timbersaw, right? Who 2 out of 2, pretty awesome, pretty dominating, you might say. I love that hero to death. He is my favorite by far.
All right, Treant Protector, 16 picks, 8 wins. Bane, who I would say is probably one of the top tier supports right now, also 50%. I'm just gonna throw out some other numbers. Storm Spirit 50%. Apparently, Lone Druid is at 50%, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. Jakiro at 0.49. So maybe win percentage isn't everything.
Jakiro, poor Jakiro. Phantom Lancer's at 0.49. I mean, that's another thing that I guess I'm gonna now segue into since even though you were doing
We
your
have other
question,
questions.
but that was gonna be a perfect segue. Oh well, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to talk
Gotta
about
group
it
these
anymore.
up together. We have to have some order.
Okay, we need a little
chaos.
organization. Okay, we can try. Fair enough. Continue.
No, you're the one with the questions. I am over here just... I guess the only other one that I penciled in was When Does I Midas?
Let's
Which-
talk about that one.
Was submitted by Samuel, right?
Samuel Genji. Or, not Genji. Oh boy.
Anyway.
I need to rewatch my movies. Anyways, yes. So, you kind of worded it a little differently, but yeah, basically the premise is, alright, so if I'm a hard carry, right, how will I know, or like, when would be the ideal game to get yourself a hand of mice as opposed to going one of the many other options these carries have? So, you asked me first, so you know what, I'm going to get your first take on this one.
It's really any time where you are secure in your early game and you feel safe going to the late game, I feel like. Any time where the levels benefit you significantly, which there are a couple heroes that might actually be useful on, but I would say for the big ones, I mean, obviously, I think Lifestealer is one of those. We see it up a lot. Now he's kind of just going for the armlet. Because he's needed to fight earlier, you're really looking for the Midas when you aren't needed right away. I guess maybe that's the easiest way to word it. If the other team is obviously going to be able to put a lot of pressure on you, then you probably don't want to go Midas. It's kind of the same thing as Battle Fury. Like, the Anti-Mage, when I first started seeing him coming out of his little slumber, from not being all that popular, it was actually, there were a couple days in a row where he was ran with that sort of Yasha Vanguard, because we need him to fight early. We need him to have an effect in the game earlier on. Me and a lot of other people call them 4 Protect 1 strategies, where you need these other heroes to make room for one hero, and if you're that one hero, then maybe the Hand of Midas is right for you. But in other situations, you just might need these people to come up faster. So, I mean, like the Nature's Prophet, I feel like is a good example. He's not a hard carry, obviously, but just to say, as a good example, you see him either go like a mech, or you see him go the Hand of Midas, and then, I mean, even into a mech, or into a push item, into that Shadow Blade, or something like that. When he gets the early mech, it's because they're looking to go. They want to get their team together. They want that mech up as soon as possible. They need that heal, because they need to make an impact in the game right now. Obviously, I think when you're one of these, if you don't feel the need to go right away, and you're like, oh, I'm in a tri-lane, or I'm in a dual lane, and I'm against a solo, I'm getting my farm pretty much secured, yeah, probably a great time to go for the Midas, because you can get not only the gold, but the experience from it, get your levels up, so that in the middle game, when you are participating, you're at a higher level than other people, and I think that's really a very basic way of saying...
I think a big misconception for newer players, maybe, who aren't exactly sure why you would get it or when you would get it, honestly, I think it's just a lot better used on, well, generally always on a big creep instead of a small creep. Now, when I was kind of starting out, I always used it on the smallest creep possible, and obviously, well, before you shake your head, mister, let me explain my thoughts. You get both bonus gold and bonus experience based on what you're using on. So,
it's a flat amount of bonus gold and a multiplier of experience.
Yes, correct. So, therefore, using on a big creep, yes, you won't gain as much gold from that cooldown. However, you will gain that multiplier of experience, like you said. And, you're still going to gain at least some extra gold, but that extra couple levels you get when you're needed for fights could definitely make a big difference in your damage, your health, your armor. I mean, all those stats plus extra skill levels really can make such a huge difference in determining the outcome of a fight. Being level 11 compared to level 9, huge difference for most heroes. So, I mean, just getting the extra experience. Now, later on in the game, if you still have the Hand of Midas in your inventory, it might start being more worth it to get the extra gold instead of the experience at that point, just so you can get those bigger items built quicker. That kind of just is more... feel it. Or if it's off cooldown and you're in the lane, you're nowhere near jungle, you might just pop it on a creep just to get the use out of it. But obviously, it's got a lot of things. I wanted to ask you two really quick things based on that, though. So, is it for every carry, or is it certain carries that only get it? And then the second part is, if you're getting this really good free farm, are there some heroes that it's just overall, instead of rushing Hamamitis, just instead get that Battle Fury so you can go to the jungle and just clear it really fast to get levels and gold that way?
I'd say they're both. I'd say they're definitely particular heroes. I like the Hand of Midas on. Like I said, the Life Stealer I think is a big one because if you're attacking faster, then you're stealing life faster and you can stay in the fights longer. Lone Druid was one of those heroes that got it up because obviously the attack speed on the bear is huge. You're trying to compare that to Battle Fury. I would say the two big heroes I want to say you get Battle Furies on are going to be the Anti-Mage and the Faceless Void. Because for Faceless, you lock people together close and then you cleave them down inside your Chronosphere. Anti-Mage, obviously, he's just so mobile that he can get around to the camps quickly and clear it. So the Battle Fury is kind of that disappear forever and not do anything but farm. And I guess you could maybe argue that the Hand of Midas is a more I can participate thing because you're not focused on using that cleave to kill as many creeps as possible. You know, it's just, oh, I've used it and now it's attack speed. But I mean, I think a really interesting hero that we've seen the Hand of Midas in the competitive scene on is Warlock, and obviously this has nothing to do with the question because he's not a carry. But I think that's a really great show when you're saying sometimes it's better to use it on the big creeps because Warlock is this hero where I think a lot of people don't think he's that good when really he's tremendous. The problem with Warlock is that all of his moves are good, if you want to think about it that way. Every single one of them is nice. So you have to like sort of pick and choose, and you go, well, it'd be great if I had this instead of this, but this is really good. You pick it up on Warlock because you're not going to do anything before level 6 anyway. If you're that number 2 positioner in the middle lane, solo, you can fight, get your creeps pretty easily, hopefully, depending on who you're against. You get that up, and then you start eating nothing but big creeps, because you get the level advantage. You get the levels up so quickly. You're going to get towards your Akhenim Scepter quickly. You're going to get towards your Refresher quickly. Some games, I believe Fogged was the first person we saw doing that recently. But there have also been some Warlocks who choose to skip it, because they want the Akhenim Scepter faster. Because like I was saying, if you get it, you're delaying your next item, obviously, but you're speeding up items after that one.
And experience. Yeah, it's just a different approach to the game style, like you were saying, like comparing mech to Hand of Midas, same kind of thing overall. And I was actually going to ask you that, so I'm glad you brought it up about the Warlock, because yeah, it's I knew you wanted to talk about it just because it's
because I mean you call me a noob if you want to. One of the heroes I was actually really curious about it on was Chen, just to be able to get your levels up so you could get really high levels of Hand of God, and because he's one of these heroes that sort of has the potential to not really be able to farm very quickly, and so he might end a game with like just a mech or just an Aghanim Scepter. So I was like, oh, I wonder what happens if you get Hand of Midas. You run around the jungle, kill things very quickly, get yourself some gold, so you can, even if you don't want to go for big items, one use is a set of wards, which is nice. So I mean, that's one of those things too, where you look at what you see typically, and whenever somebody does anything other than that, you go, well, that's stupid, you do this. Really, it's a lot more open than that, and that's kind of part of the beautiful thing, because it's that 2.5 times experience multiplier. So for some heroes, maybe it's worth messing around to have some secured gold and some bonus experience. I don't know.
Well, we answered that question very in depth. So
I mean,
Samwell,
so professional.
You can go back, report to Bilbo, and just really be good to go at this point. In case Bilbo's looking to get some Hand of Midas up. I don't know. I guess of the group, I guess Bilbo's the carry, since he's carrying the ring, right? Technically.
Yeah.
Oh, not Bilbo. Frodo. Jeez,
Frodo.
This is why I need to watch the freaking movie. Sorry, I did. Well, I watched the latest one, I guess, most recently, and that is Bilbo.
The Hobbit?
Yeah, The Hobbit.
Oh. I don't... Yeah, I don't even.
Wow.
So.
Lord of the Rings. L2W, which is watch.
I'm aware that's what it's from, but... not from
Are you? Okay, good. So, was I going to ask you anything? Oh, I was going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, our good friend Belinda from the chat likes to call us out and say we are terrible at loader lore, And that's just BDLM.
It's fact.
So,
It's fact.
actually, I'm pretty bad at it too. You just can't call me out because you don't know any better. So my question to you was going to be, who the hell wins against Outworld Devourer one-on-one in mid? Can you think of a single hero that will beat him?
I'm glad you didn't put me on the spot with something that
I told you I was going to put you on the
obviously
spot.
Don't have too much of a.
It's so much fun, though, to watch you think very
Squirm.
inquisitively.
Squirm, I think is the
Kind of
word
like
you're looking
if
for.
let's say, okay, let's design a board game, right? Around
Great.
Dota.
Let's do that.
There's really none, is there? I was kind of racking my brain about it too, and obviously you'd think maybe a nuker, but just
Night Stalker might do okay. Just because he doesn't care. It's probably going to be those heroes that they just don't care. That, oh no, now I don't have mana, and I just have to last hit just fine and shut you down later,
Night Stalker though is very, very dependent on his mana. That's how he does his damage back to the other person. So.
Yeah, but it's not like OD is doing a lot of damage to him other than just the base harassing, because Night Stalker has decent armor, and by decent I mean high armor, at the start of the game, just based off of his stats, that he could probably take the right clicks. I'll be honest, I'm not a very good middle player, and it's something I've been looking to fix. But I feel like that's really going to be your best bet, is you just have to look for a hero that, of course you're going to want your intellect, but it's not like you're a puck, or you're a silencer, or you're like, yeah, it's really important that I have intellect. Because, if you lose the lane, that's fine, but you want to try to be able to get some last hits out of it, obviously, so...
Yeah, I was thinking a far-ranged hero. I was thinking Zeus, Windrunner, or Sniper would be the best bets, just because they either have a long-range attack, or they have some kind of really far castable spell that they can stand far enough back that they can't be, banished out of existence and lose all their mana and astral prism, technically.
You see Defiler, I was not prepared to think of the competitive viability of Sniper. Jay has it set up. He's ready to go. He's just like, oh yeah.
See, if I had to choose between Drow or Sniper and I was against an Outworld Devourer, I would clearly go with the Sniper in that regard. Drow actually doesn't need her mana either. So, there you go. Drow actually could hold her own, more or less, because she hits really hard too with her Precision Aura and stats. And then the Silence is just, just in case. Well, anyways, that was one. I had another
Thank
one.
you.
Now I don't know what it is. So, do we want to dabble just quickly on any thoughts about? Well, I know you don't want to talk about. I'll just mention them. So, Tusk and Bristleback have been released since we did our last episode. I know you don't really want to talk about Tusk at all. There's obviously not a whole ton to even talk about him. Just he's not. I don't believe he's not in CM. He's not pickable. He's not probably going to be picked very often. He's a cool dude, but he's definitely he's an oddball. I'll put it that way. Do you want to say anything?
Just snowball.
Wow, great.
Oh, I would like to say I think it's interesting. Like obviously the production on heroes has slowed down, which people tend to rage about. But fear not, people. They're doing plenty. Don't worry, they're coming. They're coming.
Actually, apparently there's no patch coming up this week.
Well, they were on vacation in Hawaii last week, so I guess that makes sense.
Bunch of jerks. I wish I was there.
Yeah. God. But anyway, yeah. Tusk is weird. I don't have a lot of experience with him, so it's like I'll say that of the heroes that I don't have experience with, and I try to say one way or another whether I think they're going to be good or not, I'm always wrong. Maybe always is strong. The likelihood is high that I'm wrong. I think Tusk has a neat kit, and there's definitely some cute stuff with him. The snowball is interesting. I think my biggest problem with Tusk is, yeah, I just rolled all my heroes into you, and then you go, lol Magnus, and then you RP, and you laugh, and I'm trying to figure out what situations there are that you're, like, excited that your entire team is stacked up on 1 point,
Against the new hero that's eventually coming out. Here we go. The Skywrath Mage. whose
Oh.
ultimate is split between everyone in his little AoE.
Well, that's
Perfect
the pen.
counter, Tusk.
Uh-huh.
See?
There you go.
We've just discovered the purpose of having that snowball.
I mean, the snowball is a good way to get in without being able to be hit or stopped. It's not always necessarily going to reach the target and stun, which is unfortunate because it rolls for a duration.
Yeah.
I mean, he's neat. I seem to remember reading somewhere that when he was used, it was typically as a support, and that's understandable. Walrus Punch, neat. I do like it. Short cooldown, some extra damage. It's always nice. Really, his first 3 abilities are all pretty good. Ice Shards is weird. What does it really do? I can see that argument, but he's okay.
Snowball I think of as like Nyx Bomba with other allies instead of Nyx. So
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess the question is
because it's a
whether
pretty
melee
far
would you like to-
range. 1250 is not bad. It's like a Codal Wave range, so it's pretty good. All things
All right,
considered.
fair enough. So I won't say one way or another on Tusk because I definitely see where you could say, oh, this is really cool, and this is cool too. Let's use him. But I can also say, why would you use Tusk versus somebody else? I'm not really sure. But Bristleback, obviously, I want to say he was used in the finals of the last WCG for Dota 1. A hero that, according to Dota 2 Wiki, was actually banned out in several tournaments just because he's so good. And he's a hero that I actually think we'll wind up seeing because I think he has some potential to go into the tri-lanes, into aggressive tri-lanes, and could do pretty well there.
Oh god, he is such a strong person. I've always been a fan of him. Of course, he's kind of like a Bat Rider, being against a Bat Rider in the sense that if you know you're against middle lane, you just buy that magic wand right off the bat, and his early damage doesn't get negated, but it definitely does not do nearly as much since you can just heal up most of that damage back with your wand. But still, at the end of the day, he's going to do a lot. And as long as he doesn't get killed in the near future, if he can just keep standing in the middle of a team, spamming his spells, his Quillbraid and his Goo, he's obviously going to be just a huge nuisance. And, I think people, sometimes when they're playing him, I've noticed, focus more on trying to stack their Quill Spray instead of get auto attacks off with their Warpath. But Warpath hits like a truck, his ultimate. You get a ton of bonus damage. It really ends up being really high later on. And so it's definitely worth trying to get some right clicks in there if you can afford to. Obviously, your biggest concern is keeping up with the enemy, so gooing and spraying to get there. But definitely try to fit in some auto attacks too, I've noticed, because I've been guilty of it as well. And you really want to... What is it, 150 attack damage if you can get max stacks at the last rank? That's absurd damage from that.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting to see about him. I'm trying to remember if Heaven's Halberd existed. I guess it did. Yeah, because Heaven's Halberd came out last Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Or the 2010. 11. So I guess it was available for WCG. But that's obviously a new item that would actually be stupid good on the Bristle just because it gives them an extra opportunity to slow, you could say. Gives them strength and then the dodge, and just the strength from it is sufficient. And of course the disarm, so if he's looking to try and fight another carry. But I think he's kind of also nice because, of course, I love Crystal Maiden, sort of. And he's a hero that makes Brilliance Aura feel a little bit better. You might actually want Crystal Maiden again, even though she's really not that desired anymore. And I think Bristleback is really interesting too because maybe when you get to the professional level, it's not going to happen as often, but not that hard to understand somebody overextending to try and go for an overextended Bristleback, and then you wind up doing damage into Bristleback and spraying your whole team with Quills trying to chase him down, doing reduced damage, and so forth. He's one of these heroes I think really benefits from getting early kills, early tower kills, being super aggressive, being able to get up the health very quickly so that you can look to do a lot against the squishier heroes on the other team.
Absolutely. Cold spray stacking is just absurd later on. It's It's really, really powerful. And the bristleback, like you said, too, making him that durable. Now, of course, it does take a good amount of management on the controller's part to make sure you're positioning the right way. And, some little cheeky play involves, like, tanking the tower for your minions and just facing your back towards the tower and just letting it do negligible damage to you while it's hitting you. But I kind of do. I don't see him being incredibly popular in the current meta that we see, just because, first of all, any hero that mana drains, Phantom Lancer, Anti-Mage, all that, just annihilate him. Like, give him no mana, he's not going to do anything in a fight, and that's really unfortunate for him. Or that's my opinion, at least. But, I definitely could see some situations if you put him in there that he could definitely do a lot of good work for your team.
Yeah, I like him too because I think Vlad's is super sexy on him. I think it's a great
yes.
item choice just because, again, I consider him a hero that really benefits from the early kills, from being able to push. Gives you the armor, gives you the mana regeneration aura, and you're going to see him in a trial. He's going to be part of a tri-lane aggressive, most likely. And so, okay, Basilius, now we have better mana regeneration, great. And even the armor too. And because of nasal goo being able to reduce armor, as well as the movement speed, he definitely has a lot of great potential. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him. I mean, I was honestly, when we did our last cast about Medusa, I was like, yeah, I expect to see her. Now I kind of think about it, and I'm like, fair enough. I understand why we don't. He might not be in every game, but I definitely actually expect to see Bristleback, and I think he's a great hero and definitely one that people should give a try. If you're into the sort of...
I hate his voice, though. I really am not a fan at all. Not that I hate that. I don't hate TJ Ramini, who did the voice acting, because I don't even know who that is. However, I'm sure he's like some guy that I probably should know, but it's just so... I guess in Dota 1 he just made a lot of grunts, so that's what I was used to, and now he's got like a personality, and he's just... I don't know, it kind of bothers me a bit. But maybe it'll grow on me.
Do you remember the episode of Family Guy where it was like Bam Bam when he was older and he was like a drunkard and rough around the edges? It was like one of the cutaways. Bristleback is like, when I run around with him in game, I feel like it's supersonic. Like 10 years later or 20 years later when he also is an alcoholic and rough around the edges, like... all the quills, and you're all yellow. I'm like, dude, this guy just reminds me of Supersonic. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. Another interesting thing about him is that he's like this tiny model in the beginning of the game. Like, he's really small. He's like smaller than Crystal Maiden small. But when he goes on a warpath, he actually grows in size. And let's just say, I'm a fan of things growing. Anyways, it's he's got a lip too, which is Anyways, yeah, he's got that limp too, which is kind of a interesting. It adds that drunkard ability of himself that he just can't even stand upright, that he has to walk around. But I don't know. Those are my only real complaints. Nothing even about the hero at all. Just visual and voice things. But
there's also your Radiance, where he was never going to actually get it.
Yep, he was known to be able to pick that up in the past as well. It's situational in his items, but more likely than not, you'd rather have something tanky instead of that.
I'm trying to remember if he got it in WCG. I think it was like game 3 of the finals. I want to say I couldn't find it. I was trying to look back to make sure that we had it when we actually talked about Bristleback, but I failed. My apologies. I don't think he did, but regardless.
You know, the lane I did tell you when we were talking about him a long time ago, the lane I always wanted to try was him with Outworld Devourer, just to spam his spells with the aura. But
support OD.
It was, yeah, well, because we tried that idea, I remember, with Undying, because I'm like, oh, Undying, he can spam spells, and OD aura, it's going to be perfect. And then it wasn't perfect at all. Although, Undying, to be fair, has a lot higher mana cost spells than this guy does, so it'd be a little easier on this dude, but you never know, man.
I mean, I will say, like I was saying, Crystal Maiden obviously has fallen out of graces since she lost her LOL easy first blood potential when Crystal Nova got nerfed. But Bristle's like one of these heroes where it's like, yeah, I feel like it's such a good pairing, just in the lane. together, like just negating the fact that the aura is global. Maybe she gets a little bit more playability now if Bristle is playable. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, there are a lot of great support heroes out right now, especially like the Jakiro, like we wanted to talk about. But I mean, we've been going for a pretty long time, so maybe we'll just, you know what, Jay? Maybe we won't just wait 8 months and then come out with an episode that has sapped everything we've thought of ever, and wait another 8 months. Maybe we'll just like space it.
Wow. What a concept.
I know.
I'm well. I still have to say my jokes.
Okay.
That was I'm sorry. You were trying to figure ways to get out of it, but
there was a discussion. Me and Jay, as if you guys follow our Facebook and Twitters, we did meet for pho, and
yes.
we laid out the terms of this podcast, and one of them was that Jay got to make spring jokes. I couldn't get him to back down, so I apologize in advance.
And I'm not. Here's the thing. I don't know if I can even call all these jokes.
Great. So
I have 5 things I'm going to read off here that I came up with in the span of 45 minutes at work. The only reason I came up with them is because I promised BDLM that I would make spring jokes, because he questioned my ability to when I was making my Christmas jokes. So, that being said, now are you prepared? Now is everything settled? And
yeah.
Okay. The first one, maybe I'll go from worst to best, in my opinion, and that way it'll get the crowd warmed up here. All right, so I'll ask you the question. You know the standard protocol here, and then you'll give me your best answer, and I'll tell you.
Who's there?
A goose.
A goose who?
Bless you. All right, number 1. Why does Tree Protector love spring?
Why, Jay? Why does Tree Protector love spring?
It's the best time of the year to plant seeds. I told you, worst to best is the order in which this is going to go down. And be thankful, by the way, that this is half the amount of jokes as the Christmas episode was. Alright, number 2. Number 2. What do Skeleton King, Jesus, and Roshan all have in common?
I already know the answer to this one.
I know! But reincarnation. It's just so... It was obvious, but it's a good observation. You know what I mean? It's a very good observation.
So pray to Roshan before you go to bed, kids.
Maybe he'll come back on the 3rd day. Alright. What is the one appliance people are afraid to ask Darkseer for during spring cleaning? Okay, here's the problem. These are all very obvious, but...
Is it Wall of Replica?
No, it's a hammer. No, it's a vacuum. Yes, a vacuum. Okay.
Ooh,
I know.
The worst.
I'm sorry. I know these are a little too obvious, but sometimes you just gotta go straight for the kill. You know,
it makes
that's
you
what
feel better. It gives you something to do at work. So
it did. I got to use my whole 45 minutes at the end of my day on something productive for a change. All right. Number 4 here. This one's even pretty bad, actually, so let's just go with it. What's the difference between Alchemist and an egg and an Easter egg hunt?
Alchemist is easy to find, but just as colorful?
No. Eventually, all the eggs will be used in the hunt. Alright, let me explain it. So,
Thank you.
I was trying to think of a way to make fun of Alchemist again. I was going to make that like a repeating theme here in all my jokes. And it didn't work. But
Okay.
that's the way I went for it. So maybe I should put that as number 1.
I realized it failed, but I thought, hey, just throw it out there just in case.
You gotta try. I mean, I needed 5. That was the truth of it. I couldn't just do 4 jokes. You gotta have 5. Round it out. All right.
That's fantastic. It really is.
Ready for number 5?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
you look ready.
How could
you
I
look
not
ready.
be?
You do look ready. All right. Why doesn't Shen celebrate the Easter Bunny like everyone else?
It's a religious joke.
Good job so far.
No, see now, I really don't want to drag this section out for the viewers, but I do want to actually try and figure this out.
This was not obvious. Like it's not a vacuum. I'll tell you that. It's nothing to do vacuum related here.
He doesn't like the pagan holidays. He's of a more Christian holy persuasion.
Oh,
Oh,
that was so
What's up?
detailed.
Oh my gosh, that was.
Mine was very simple and precise.
Okay.
All right, now it's time to repeat it. So, why doesn't Chen celebrate the Easter Bunny like everyone else? It's a real test of faith.
I like mine better.
Well, yours was very detailed. Mine
also
was
made a
good
lot more
too.
sense.
No, mine was good
So-
too. No. Easter Bunny, it's really trying your faith there to say a bunny exists. Just go with it. Just
That was good. That was good. Why didn't you do that?
you can't think of these kind of good jokes at the end here. Spoiler: Jesus doesn't exist. All right, here we go. Moving on. I'm kidding. For some people. All right. So now that we got those jokes out of the way, here's the problem. All right, now let me explain my problem. I had to be constricted to Easter jokes. Dota heroes and Easter jokes don't get along. All right, that's what I determined. Skeleton King was literally the only one that was the easy one. Everyone else, I had to like think really hard for 20 minutes and be like, what the heck could I do with this? So
It's accusable.
for all
next
people,
week, J4Y brings by his macaroni art projects, and
just so BDL could step on them later.
So,
Oh. Okay, I'm done.
Well, I think we're I'm glad we could end on such a high note.
That's the best way, I think.
Well, anyway, join us all next week. Of course, we did appreciate the Twitter questions. Of course, it's always nice when we all can learn about something. Oh man, I actually did want to say something really important, and it actually has bearing on people's lives, unlike the Easter jokes.
Wow.
Maybe I'll say it for next time. I will say that I actually had a major revelation. This is going to be a little bit of a teaser about how to watch Dota and trying to be better at it. And of course, all you guys submitting questions like Canamitis and stuff like that. Obviously, it's always nice to try and help each other get better at a game that we all love. So next week, I have a major revelation I'm going to forget about when we actually do the cast next week. We should tune in just in case I don't forget, so I can tell you about how it is good to watch games, to try and get as much information as you can out of them to help improve. So I'm not going to say when the next one is, but look to the near future. It'll be coming, episode number 49 of our Dota On Demand podcast. We're going to at least make it to 50. And thank you guys for having tuned in this whole time. If you guys are long-time listeners or first-time listeners, I am apologize for the spring jokes all the same. But yeah, I think that's it. Of course, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Both of those / Dota On Demand. We will see you guys next time.